Drexel Institute recently released an indicators report, and many of you may very well know and have experienced a lot of the dire and dismal outcomes of people on the spectrum, especially when it comes to transition. They're not finding jobs, they're going to college only to drop out, or they're going to college without a declared major, an idea of what they want to do, not moving out of mom and dad's house, not having any friends calling them or them making the calls to people. The list goes on and on. So some changes need to be made. We need to take a step back to figure out how our young people can go through that process of discovery to improve these outcomes. Because the research has been done and research continues to be done. This is what has to be done with the young people, taking a step back and looking into themselves first. Because using high school as an example, and this with transition you can start really, really young, but looking at high school, about to go to college, or maybe they've graduated from college. Any age range this can apply to for Come to Life. In the case of high school, as an example, a lot of students have experienced a services cliff, a steep drop-off in services compared to those they received in high school. And how many of you have had high school students, like they got services when they were in high school, but once that diploma came in or they left high school, services disappeared. 26% of those that fell off the services cliff, so to speak, didn't get any kind of services in the 2 years after leaving high school. They were disconnected from work or higher education in their early 20s, and 53% didn't receive any vocational or life skills training in their early 20s. So they are just sitting back, and they don't seem to have that motivation or wanting to improve themselves, thinking there's no hope. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is hope. You can pick yourself up, you can be better, and you have it in you to do so. There's so many programs out there, but you have to be the one to go find them. In my case, as an example, there's an organization that's an international organization, Junior Chamber International. They do work to improve humanity through volunteer projects, through social gatherings, and professional networking. Because nowadays in networking, it's not just what you know, it's who you know. And usually Junior Chamber International has someone that knows someone who knows someone who knows someone that can make things happen for you. So for young adults, say age 21 to 40, they're just kind of sitting back, not doing much. If they can volunteer their time to make a difference, that can bring a lot of pride and possibly bring some friends into the process too. Looking at the connection and quality of life. Now, this isn't in your handouts or the presentation, but life, I've found, it's been researched by many philosophers, religious leaders, Monty Python, the meaning of life. But what they don't know is that life isn't a word, it's an acronym. And I'm going to tell you what each of the letters stand for. We have the L in life, which stands for love and relationships. Love and relationships. With our young people, they find it difficult to find and keep friendships going, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, marriage, children, and also business relationships as well. And these are key to forming a good, high quality of life. The company you keep, have any of you ever heard the term, you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with? The law of 5? So thinking about those people that really bring you up, that are positive, that are like your cheerleaders. You've got this, Tom. I know you can do it. Then you've got those that are kind of like, oh, my life just kind of sucks. You think you got problems? See if you can reduce or eliminate those wet blankets, those negative Nancys, and see your life improve. Make way for more positive people that will help you up when the chips are down. Love and relationships. The I stands for independent living. Independent living. A lot of young people are sitting at home and they don't have much of a plan or a way out or moving out of mom and dad's house. What my family did, I was going to be going to college, and my parents found a condo near the local college and said to me, Tom, one day you're going to live here. And that gave me some hope for a better future. I had a great outlook knowing that I would be able to have a life for myself. How many parents do you know that think their child is going to live with them until the day they die? And do you really want that? Our young people have the potential to create a life for themselves, and the parents might be disempowering the children under their very own roof. Think about the chores that young people could be doing around the household or learn to master or to contribute to the household as a whole, but the parents do it for the kid anyway. It's disempowering, and it's only adding to the problem instead of the solution. It's independent life skills. Not many of them are taught in the classroom. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be addressed. Brings us to the F in life, which is further education. Further education. I mentioned the importance of never stop learning, constant and never-ending improvement. A lot of our young people are going to college and dropping out. They find it too overwhelming, or there's a major that they thought they wanted to do, but then there wasn't the classes that they needed. Or I mentioned the undeclared major. So many of our young people have special skills, but it may not necessarily translate into a degree, or they discover what an overwhelming transition is. I know one young man went from high school to a 4-year university. He couldn't take it and dropped out after only a semester. Also, the idea of having to advocate for yourself, having to request accommodations. Up to the point of college, a lot of times accommodations may have been provided for you, or in high school, for instance, you listen for the bell, whereas in college you look at your watch or your cell phone clock. It's a lot more independent and a lot less supervision. So our young people are kind of going up a creek without a paddle, not having a roadmap or being able to ask for accommodations for themselves, and that's what causes them to fail. I know one young lady who had to deliver a letter requesting accommodations to her teachers, but she couldn't talk to men. So she didn't deliver the letter to the male professors, didn't get the accommodations she needed, failed her classes. Our young people have to learn how to advocate for themselves and be able to self-disclose to professors so that they can get what they need to succeed. Get those college diplomas, which will open up many doors, which brings me to the final letter, E, which is employment. Employment. And this is huge when it comes to young people with disabilities such as autism. Because as you heard in the keynote this morning, people with autism tend to have difficulty with other people's perspectives or seeing other points of view, not clarifying and asking questions when they need to, thinking about alternative viewpoints. And think about job interviews, not only finding a job and going through that interview, but keeping that job too. In an interview, if you have somebody who's not looking at the person or kind of rocking, not able to answer a question directly, and that employer or that HR person is taking a mental note, yeah, next. It is a sad truth, but it is happening a lot more often than you might think. And even in the times that I was a CPA and had many jobs, like an internship at Disney, for example. That was my very first job right out of college, a property tax internship at Disney. Mind you, I wanted to be George Lucas's accountant. I love Star Wars, I love numbers, I figured, why not? And my parents, rather than dismissing my dreams or thinking that it was some kind of pipe dream, they said, okay, you want to be George Lucas's accountant? You need to take these college courses, you need to get some experience in companies other than Lucasfilm, because he's not going to hire someone right out of the gate, right out of college. So I get to Disney. I didn't disclose during the interview, but I did disclose within the first week or so on the job, because my employer, my manager, asked how things are going. And I wasn't doing too well, so that's when I described to her, I have autism, but I knew how it affected me. I knew what accommodations would work for me. If you could give me my directions in writing, that would help. I might ask you the same question 3 or 4 times. If you'll just bear with me, it will sink in. Thankfully, she was receptive and was open to what I had to say, and I had done my homework knowing how my disability affected me and requesting low to no cost accommodations. And I was promoted later in that job. Went on to supervise 5, 6 interns and literally wrote the manual how to do a property tax return. And those interns got their workload done faster than ever in the department's history. By taking the time and being patient with our young people, they can really work wonders. Improve company operations, better workplace rapport, improve client-customer relations. But it can't just be left to the employer. The potential employee, the young person, has to be able to say, I need help, and how the employer can help them. Sort of a help me, help you type of thing. That's what's going to help them succeed and help them obtain and maintain employment. Because getting back to our statistics, 36% attended post-secondary education and 58% ever worked in their early 20s. And of those who did, 79% worked less than 35 hours a week, an average hourly rate of $8.08. And only 19% of youth had ever lived independently of their parents. And I want to touch up on the idea, we talked about unemployment, there's also underemployment. Working, but not working enough hours or not enough money to make ends meet. A lot of young people are in jobs that might seem productive or add value, but maybe they want to have more responsibility. But then again, how many of you would know a kid who says, I want to have more responsibility? I wanted better things for myself, and my mother wanted a better life for me as well. To give you some context, my first job was at a Hollywood Video. Remember those video rental stores? It was through a workability program. I was reshelving videos. That was pretty much my tasks the whole time I was there. 3 months go by, I'm still reshelving videos. My mother comes in and asks, aren't you going to teach him more responsibility, more tasks? The manager said, well, we just figured the workability people are only capable of reshelving videos. Our young people are being underestimated. Incompetence is being presumed over competence. Think about the potential more than the problem, and you'd be amazed at what can happen. But for now, a lot of young people are being socially isolated, being stuck at home, not making those calls or receiving those calls. Almost half didn't talk on the phone with friends or get invited to a social event an entire year. 39% not seeing friends during the past year. No community participation. I talked a little bit about Junior Chamber International and volunteer work. Improving people's lives. Another volunteer organization I'm part of is back before we had Uber and Lyft and those rideshare services. For certain Friday and Saturday nights, I would drive intoxicated people home. The organization's called Safe Rides. The person who's drunk, and yes, teenagers can get access to drugs and alcohol and other substances. So if they get intoxicated or maybe their ride got drunk and they don't want to ride with that drunk driver, they'll call Safe Rides from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and we'll send a car and go and get them. They don't have to use their real name or anything. We'll ask them a few questions like where you are, what school you go to. The point is, these young people that got rides from Safe Rides are still alive today, and I helped save their life. So by thinking about activities that our young people can do to give them a sense of pride, I saved like 5 lives tonight. And all the drivers that didn't get killed because this person was off the road, they're alive today too because of me. You never know what kind of impact a young person can have unless they get out there. And they have to be introduced to these activities. They may not be motivated or willing or able to get up and go out there and see what's out there. But helping them come to life will start the magic happening. And we talked about the social isolation, unemployment, all of these difficulties our young people are facing, which result in other complex health needs, some having one or more co-occurring conditions in addition to autism. And it's only exacerbated by others like ADHD, anxiety, depression, almost like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And when that happens, it only adds to the problem, getting more and more stuck, not having a plan, feeling like there's no hope. By helping our young people see that they have the potential, they can live the life they want, there is light at the end of that tunnel, can they begin to see what life has to offer them. Now, mind you, a lot of what we've talked about, or at least what's written in Come to Life, it's a prequel to transition, because these results happen when we overlook the process of self-discovery, when we don't ask kids to take a look inside themselves, or not letting them know about their disability, how it affects them, loving themselves, etc. These poor indicators will only continue unless we look at the kids directly. We ask the kids to look at themselves directly. And mind you, there's no universal treatment or plan. Every young person has to be looked at individually. But each and every one of them has that potential, and I believe it can be unlocked. And I believe you can help make it happen. But getting back to employment and post-secondary educational activities, 66 young adults with autism who had recently left high school showed very low rates of employment, a lot of times for the reasons we've talked about. And this is what was interesting, those with autism and no intellectual disability were 3 times more likely to have no daytime activities, such as work or education, than those with autism and an intellectual disability. So those just with autism, such as Asperger's syndrome, high functioning autism, mild autism, whatever term you might use, because they're so severely affected by their unwillingness or inability to see others' perspectives, on not asking questions for clarification, not being open to others' viewpoints, that is what's causing them to fail. I mentioned my work with nonprofits and organizations I joined. I'm going to tell you about one that really helped me start to see others' viewpoints and be open to constructive criticism, and that is Toastmasters. Getting up in front of an audience, public speaking, it's the number one fear we have as humans. We'd rather die than talk in front of our peers. But once you master the idea or the art of public speaking, and in Toastmasters means when you give a speech, you have somebody come up and evaluate your speech, give you lots of praise, 1 or 2 opportunities for improvement, taking your speech to the next level, and then end with more praise. And no 2 speeches are the same, no 2 evaluations are the same. Because back when I first started public speaking, I would lick my lips a lot, but now I start to be more mindful of that. Or you may not have heard too many filler words like you know, so, like. These filler words are actually kept track of during the course of a meeting, and they're brought to your attention at the end of the meeting. So I can actually start to sense when a filler word is coming, and I'll pause or take a breath. If our young people can speak confidently and competently about themselves or the topics that they hold dear, that can really help them a lot. And it helps them get out of their comfort zone, meet new people, have a mentor or a coach, somebody for them to connect with and talk with. Again, it's about getting out there and finding out what is available to you. And our young people have that potential. Unemployment and lack of post-secondary education really are a greater problem for adults with autism with average or above average intellectual ability. Like when I was younger, my mother, her sister, my aunt, was the autism specialist for the state of Illinois. And my aunt took me for an informal screening for autism when I was 4, and it basically said, Tom's too smart to have autism. But now the diagnostic criteria has changed to the point where when I was 12, 13 years old, which was back in 95, 96, the criteria changed where I could have a high IQ and still have the social behavior communication difficulties, which by definition was Asperger's syndrome, or in the case of my diagnostic doctor, mild autism. That's what he described it as to my parents. You think, a lot of young people that appear smart, can articulate, appear competent, they still find ways to fall through the cracks when it comes to those social behavior communication difficulties. The researchers conclude their findings are suggesting that the current service system may be inadequate to accommodate the needs of youth with autism who don't have intellectual disabilities during the transition to adulthood. What we're doing right now is not working. We need to look at other alternatives. And more importantly, focusing on what the young people want. Make sure it's their lives. They're the ones that end up in the driver's seat so they can start living the life that they want and that they understand why it's important to them and that you are helping them make it happen. There is that resistance to change. There is going to be some ruffled feathers, if you will. But by working as a team, this is something we encourage in Come to Life. You are your young person's allies. By working as a team as allies, you can help make things happen, and these results can be decreased or hopefully one day eliminated. What if I told you that a high school diploma closes more doors than it opens? When I was about to graduate high school, I looked really good on paper, ready to graduate with honors, like I'm about to really grab life by the horns, I've got it made. However, vocabulary, reading, and other aspects of English were not my strongest suit. And as I'm getting ready to graduate and I'm still testing in remedial English, my parents saw the coming calamity and held the school district in Santa Clarita, where I live, accountable, saying that they had not done their job in helping me pass English, because I'm gonna need to pass. I knew by the time I was a senior in high school I wanted to be George Lucas's accountant. So my parents told the school district, Tom's gonna need to pass English and pass upper division writing proficiency exams, pass English 101 basically, if he's gonna be a CPA, and you haven't helped him do that. And the district said, you're right, we're gonna keep his individualized education plan open. And that was probably what made all the difference for me. And I'm gonna explain why right about here, after this slide here, but basically, only about 8 people completed college, vocational, or other educational program after receiving a high school diploma, even though they participated in an educational program that's widely considered the highest quality. The reason that it didn't work for them, ladies and gentlemen, a high school diploma is an exit document. What does that mean? When you take that diploma, that basically says, I'm done, I don't need services anymore, goodbye, and the door closes and locks behind you. So all those services that you received during high school or before you got that diploma, boom, gone when you take it. And our young people are being released into the wild without the skills they need to succeed, even though they look good on paper and have good grades and such. Now mind you, I still got to walk with my fellow graduates, but inside my diploma envelope was a note, please see the special education director for your diploma. And he held my diploma in his desk drawer for 4 years until the school district delivered on its promise to help get me up to above remedial English. And as a result, I got an occupational therapist, I got a speech and language pathologist, I got a transition specialist, I had a Department of Rehabilitation counselor, I had a job coach, I had a disabled students and program services counselor, advisors, all of these services, all of these people that I would not have received had I taken that diploma and run with it. And that's what's happening in this day and age, where our young people are being encouraged to take that diploma and see what's next, but then they don't get the services they need. And this can be controversial. I understand you think it's going to hurt this person's self-esteem if he doesn't graduate with his high school students. It's going to hurt his future. Well, let me ask you this. Would you be all right or better with a temporary setback, keeping that individualized education plan or the transition plan open? Or do you just want to close it and have potentially permanent downward spiral? Temporary setback, potentially permanent downward spiral. our young people are falling into the latter. So keeping those education plans open and having services be available until the goals get met, so that they learn those independent living skills, those skills that aren't necessarily taught in a classroom, so that they can succeed.